What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome into another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show. A proud member of Fantasy Points and the Fantasy Points Media Group. D-Mendy here, joined by a piece of cake that's been called a DILF and a DARF. It's Art Tornavetti, a.k.a. Little Cheesecake, VLC. LC, how's it going?
Just coming off the high of that DARF draft we had over the weekend. Got to meet so many great people down there in DC and get a live draft in. First live draft I've had in a while. Actually, it's been a couple years, so it felt great to be out there and to just be around all those people who are as crazy about fantasy baseball as I am. So right now I'm on a high. You guys got me at a good time. I might make a good show today for once. So
ooh, that's always a good thing. You guys had a good turnout from what you guys told me. You guys had Lauren Auerbach, you had Shelly Verstray, you had a couple other well-known people come out.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would want to say everyone's name just so I didn't leave anyone out. But I can't believe some of the people I got to meet. It was so fantastic. I even got to see that guy's face for the first time in a while too. So it was good to see him.
Well, I guess that means I have to intro him as well. We also are joined by, as Art mentioned, a man averaging 16 points per game as he attempts to make his Velo City All-Star Game bid. It's Eric Mendelson, aka the Doc. What's up?
It's empty stats for 0-2, but I mean, do you care about buckets or do you care about winning? I care about winning.
No, the first thing you said to me was what you were scoring before you said your wins, losses. So I think it's the other way.
Way to call me out on the lie.
It's true. Of course, we're also joined by the man who I think is the Arnold Schwarzenegger when it comes to his fantasy baseball strength. It is Marty Tallman, a.k.a. Marty Party. What's going on?
That one I need to know. Where did you get that? Where'd that come from?
I have no idea. I was up late and I just was like, you know what? We're just going to ride with this.
Well, no, Arnold's cool. I live just outside of Venice and, hanging out around there, seeing those people hanging, hey, they still work out there, even though the place is pretty gross.
Have you actually worked out at Venice Beach before?
No.
Oh,
you're missing out.
Now I'm disappointed.
I'm good. That's gross. You don't want to do that. You can play basketball though at the courts, like in White Man Can't Jump. Those ones, they're there.
Yeah, I've been there.
Did you do that?
I did.
Okay, so it's not a complete letdown. That's
did you play with Adam Sandler there?
No, I did not. Adam Sandler would not be playing there, but he will be playing at a nice YMCA.
That is true. All right. Well, our guest, as you can see on screen, is a very special individual to us. So we got to welcome in this man, the proper way here. We welcome in a man who, along with his incredible sports knowledge, he knows sports pain. And why does he know pain? Well, his recent pain of being a 49ers fan, an A's fan, and once having his team have a perfect game against them in a wiffle ball game. You know this man. He's one of our favorite guys in the industry, as he's an MLB and NFL podcast host and columnist at Rotowire, an avid NFBC and NFFC player, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He's got stories for days. We welcome in Scott Jenstad. How's it going, man?
That's a hell of an intro right there. I do appreciate it. I don't know if I can live up to that, but that might be the best thing we do tonight. And I tell you what, if Doc's scoring 16 points a night in his rec league, he might be able to come in and play for Andrew Wiggins, who's definitely not doing that since
Well, I don't want to change sports too quickly here, but we have to go back to something I said in the intro. And that's, you said you got perfect game against him wiffle ball. You mentioned this to me last night. I had to go back to that and ask you about it. What happened in that game?
So we signed up for this. Wiffle ball tournament. It's funny. Like they used to do like these, and we did an aired out football tournament. My buddies and I actually won that. We beat a team of all guys that were going D1. Chris Ricks, who went to Florida State, beat him in a tournament. So we're really good. So we went to this wiffle ball tournament in San Diego. I played high school baseball, so my three teammates all played college baseball. So we thought this is gonna be like, we're gonna roll into here. We kind of warm up the day before. We're like, we get the wiffle balls. We can make it go wherever you want. First inning was fine. I was pitching fine. We get to the bottom. We hit. This guy comes out. The mound was like closer than it should have been. Throwing like this weird screwball kind of pitch. I can't even like describe it. The most unbelievably unmatched four people I've ever seen in my life. We did not remotely come close to getting a hit, getting anywhere near making contact. It was like, my girlfriend at the time was like filming it. And I was like, yeah, the second thing I'm like, yeah, you might want to turn that off. The most embarrassing domination I've ever seen. We did not come remotely close to touching the ball for 6 innings of this game. This kid must've been throwing the wiffle ball like 90 miles an hour from 42 feet away with movement. He was probably like 18. We just got so dominated. The most dominant perfect game that's ever been thrown in modern sports.
Did it have the backstop behind it? Like the little, my God.
Didn't matter because he either hit the backstop or you swung at a pitch that was 14 feet away from the backstop. There was no way to do anything but literally guess the second he let go of the ball. It was literally impossible. It was one of the more impressive accomplishments I've seen.
Did anybody make contact, even a foul ball off of it?
Not even remotely close to a foul ball.
Wow.
And like the next 2 games, we were fine. Like we hit some home runs, foul ball. Like it's hard to do it in the wiffle ball, but this guy was so dominant. We didn't even come close to contact. It was really embarrassing. And like people were filming it, watching. It was really bad.
So are we on board with potentially doing a redemption wiffle ball game next year?
I would certainly tear my rotator cuff and still be in. No doubt. I will come out there throwing hard and it'll hurt, but let's do it anyway.
Can you get movement on your pitches, like really good wiffle ball movement?
Oh yeah. In all four directions.
Oh, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit. Yeah. We did backyard wiffle ball for a little while.
As long as you're using the real wiffle ball, that's the holes on half the side of it, not the like practice golf. Oh yeah, I can throw a riser, sinker,
or not the what they call it, the screwball or whatever.
The blitz ball thing.
Ball, yeah.
Oh, those people get hurt on those things, but wiffle ball, I can make it move all 4 ways if we need to.
Oh, this is definitely gonna be another conversation for another day because
I talk like I'm 20 years younger than I am, but it's all right.
But we're really glad we have you on today, Scott, because we've got a pressing matter at hand. We're talking tonight about our starting pitcher preview, part 2, and these are starting pitchers going in the 31 to 60 range on NFBC, and we're gonna be looking at NFBC ADP from 2 weeks from before today, which is March 7th. So we have almost 100 drafts during that time, which is crazy to be like in 2 weeks, we have 100 drafts, but that's the point we're at right now in draft season. So it's a lot of data. We can really identify guys that we really like in each range. It's going to be a fun show. We also have, of course, our question of the week. If you were to go to a restaurant, which MLB player do you think tips the most? And our game of the week coming in to shut the door. So without further ado, guys, let's jump right in. Let's talk about these starting pitchers in this range. And I'm going to put them up on screen so you guys can see what we have going here. We're going to have our pretty faces on the bottom of the screen and the pitchers up here. And we got to, of course, go to you, Scott, first, talking about a starting pitcher you like to draft in the 31 to 40 range. And right off the bat, it's somebody that we're starting with here, Nathan Eovaldi or maybe Luis Garcia. You said both of them you kind of were in on. Who's the one you find yourself drafting a ton of?
Well, I'm a little worried because my range you gave me didn't have Trevor Rogers, because that would definitely be my answer if I had that range. But I love Trevor Rogers. But yeah, I'm gonna go Nate Eovaldi, who's someone that has kind of hurt me in the past. I kind of liked him when he was at the Marlins and just didn't quite get there. I think the list you're doing has relievers in it too. That's why.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I'm going Eovaldi. Trevor Rogers a little higher, but I love what we saw from Eovaldi last year. The K rate's solid at 25%. Not super elite, but good. But I love the walk rate. I love guys that don't walk anybody. He had a 4.6% walk rate last year. I love that for whip. I think whip's the category that people really have trouble figuring out. Guys look good, and then all of a sudden you're like, I just like that for the whip. Swing strike rate's really strong at 12.5%. I think that's gonna maybe see a little more bump in the K rate. He dropped his hard contact, was always kind of his issue. Dropped the barrel rate. First time in 5 years of the home run per 9 under 1. So finally kind of fixed that home run issue. You like the XDRA, it was 3.37. So maybe that shows us that we're going to see a little more 80th percentile there. You flip on his StatCast page, a ton of red on that page. All of it looks really good. Tough division. I understand that, but a good team for wins. Wins are tough to find these days especially this year, we're going to get a lot of guys in April who are going to go 3 or 4 innings. It's going to be a tough April for wins. So I like that. Great curveball, 40% whiff rate, really good slug against that. His slider is really good. The splitter is really good. He started using that more too, which I like to see. He was like a 2% pitcher in 2020, 13% usage in 2021. Good whiff rate on that too. The X numbers on his slider are really good. I like his pitch mix. I like how many pitches he throws. I like he throws 97. I think there's a lot of good things going with Eovaldi right now, and I'm on board for this year.
Yeah, I know he's a staple on Ryan Bloomfield's Bloom boards. He's one of the guys always on there, which is a good thing. Had over 180 innings pitched last year, which that type of volume you would think you'd see a lot more of, but you don't see it as much in today's day and age. So 180 innings, all the projection systems have him. Most of them have him going 168 to 180 innings, so right in that same range. Over a K per 9, like you had mentioned. All his expected stats are actually better than his ERA, his xERA, FIP, xFIP. So you would think, and then you brought up the home run fly ball rate as well, like 8.2% last year, which is the lowest he's had since he was with New York in 2015. So a lot of good stuff to see in his profile. And he's going to be on a team that has a great offense behind him. So you got to think there's a lot of chances at wins. And he's going to be, again, with the same team he was last year. So familiarity in that sense. So there's not a lot of things I could see that would scare me off of him. So I think that's a really good call. And he's somebody, if you've been kind of neglecting the starting pitching position, if you get in a bunch of hitters, you could get him, as like an SP2, SP3, and, maybe you're riding high at that point. So I like the call. Let's go to you, Mr. Marty Tallman. And let's go to someone you like in this range, and that's Tyler Mahle. You want Morley of Tyler Mahle here.
I most certainly do. So outside of the fact that he plays for the Reds, which, hey, he may get traded at any time. We never know. So keep your head on the swivel over there. And sorry for the fans of Cincinnati. You guys are going to be depleted. Art knows what that feels like for the Cubs. It's kind of a similar thing where they just let everybody go. But anyway, so last year, he was 26 years old. He threw 180 innings. He had a 3.75 ERA, 3.76 xERA, his 3.74 FIT. So all of that, pretty much checks out for where he's at in that section. But what I love the most is the strikeout percentage. 27.7, was in the 79th percentile. He needs to cut down on his walks a little bit and go back to a slider. In 2020, he had a really sick slider. Expected a batting average against it was 180. Last year, it was 262. So if he can kind of level that out and sit somewhere in the middle there, I think that's going to really help him. He has stuff, he has plus stuff. He has good command. I think he's going to be good.
And I know you didn't mention this, but imagine if he's not with the Cincinnati Reds. If the people have talked about his different splits between home and away, if you have not seen his splits, he was 5-4 with a 5.63 ERA last year in his home games, 15 home games, 18 away games, 8-2 with a 2.3 ERA.
Yep, elite.
So, if he goes somewhere else that's out of Cincinnati, the Great American Small Park, maybe not a 2.3 ERA, but maybe closer to like a 3 ERA with a lot of strikeouts. That's pretty juicy right there. I definitely somebody I like as well. Now, Doc, I should not be shocked who you have here. This is one of your favorite players. And coincidentally, you and Scott agree on a lot of things. You both like the San Francisco 49ers. He likes the Oakland A's. And you like the former Oakland A's pitcher, Chris Bassitt, a lot.
I've just beaten this drum for years. everybody would look at expected stats and just not the eye test. 2020, he was a 5-2 with 2.29 ERA, 1.16 WHIP. Didn't seem to get the respect that he did. Follows it up in 2021, 12-4, 3.15 ERA. Even comes back after taking that liner to the face and having a facial fracture. Last year, his K rate was the highest of his career, and it keeps going up year to year. His walk rate was the lowest of his career. And I like that he throws 6 pitches, and all but his cutter, hitters hit 260 or less against. He just threw a career high 157.1 innings, and he only has 555 for his career. So he hasn't been throwing as much as people might think he has, and he's on a team that will probably get him wins now. So I love Chris Bassitt, and it's just a shame that everybody loves him as much as I do now. Somebody took him in the 4th round of our DARF draft.
So, Scott, I know he's on another team now, and I feel very bad about the Oakland A's just giving up every single player on the team. But what are your thoughts that seeing as much Chris Bassitt as you do, being a fan of the team, do you like him as where he's kind of going right now with, around pick 130, 131, or do you think that's a little too early for him?
I really like it, actually. I think he's going to be, I think he's just solid. I don't think you're I wouldn't take him in the 4th round because I don't think there's that ceiling on him, but I think the floor is better than probably anybody in this range. I think he's going to be really solid. I like him going to the Mets. You get more, he's going to have more runs there. The A's lineup is obviously horrible right now. I think it's going to be good for wins. I think it's going to be, he's just a really good guy too. I think everybody in the clubhouse loves him. Everybody in the locker room likes him. I just think, I think he'll be very, very solid. I don't know if he's going to win a league for you, but he definitely won't lose it. There's a lot of value in guys like that.
Yeah, I think he's somebody, like you said, maybe he's not sexy, but he's somebody that you can put in and you don't have to worry about. He's going to give you what you need and what you expect out of him. But Cheesecake, we got to stay with his former teammate. We're talking another Oakland A, current Oakland A at this moment, Sean Manaea, the not very hard throwing Sean Manaea. I think he's a very hard player to judge in fantasy, but you're somebody that's buying Sean Manaea this year.
Absolutely. Well, when you say he's not very hard throwing, you have to also caveat that with the fact that he gained a couple of ticks on his fastball last season, coming back from a poor 2020. He also pitched the volume that you had hoped you would want to get from a pitcher in this range, and that's one of the reasons why I really like Manaea, is that I really expect him to produce good volume, and while he's doing that, give you over a K per inning. His K percentage went up last year to a rate that is definitely above league average, and it's put him in a new level for my view. 25% K rate, keeps a low walk rate. That's why I like him. Now, one thing that happened with Manaea last season was he had a really poor August, and it kind of brought down his whole overall season. It was really poor, but he came back after that, September and October, righted the ship a little bit. I really like that. That's kind of what got me to keep my view on him, because I've been on Manaea ever since he was at Indiana State. Sycamores, he was a big prospect coming out who dropped because of some injuries. I've always been hopeful for him, so I'm trying not to just keep that in the back of my head, and try to keep the fact that he looks like he has a profile to keep a low whip. He's getting good strikeouts, and his K to walk is good. Now, he might get traded. I know Cardinals fans are all over Twitter saying, trade Sean Manaea to the Cardinals. I'd love that. If he gets traded to the Yankees, I might soften a little bit on him, because I'm not sure if that's the best destination for him. But there's possibility that he could be traded to another very good team and a good pitching atmosphere as well.
Now, again, Scott, I gotta go back to you as the Oakland A's guy. What are your thoughts on Manaea, and do you think there's a favorite spot for him as far as where you would like him to go if he gets traded?
So the weird thing with Manaea is I don't think there's another pitcher in baseball where 2 miles an hour are more of a big difference maker than him. I think he's a completely different pitcher out there when he's at 92 versus 90. And we've seen it. And I've been to games up close, and he's thrown 92, 93. He looks really good. The ball gets on guys quick. All the other stuff works really well. And then there's games where he gets tired or drops down to 90, and he's like really hittable. You see the barrel rate become a problem. You see the hard hit become a problem. I love him at 92, 93. I don't like him at the price at 90, 91. It's just hard for me to know, where that's going to be. And last year we saw it. Last year was 92.2 average fastball. 2020 was 90.4. You could see it. You could see how different he is. So it's just hard for me to take the leap at the price, not knowing where that's going to be. If I knew he was going to throw 92, 93, I'd be on him all day at the price. I'm just a little bit worried that he's had those years where the velocity's not there and he's a different pitcher.
Yeah, like you said, it's a very big key with him. The velocity, if it's there. He has a kind of a deceptive looking delivery, which I think, like you said, kind of gets on people easily. Yeah. I think ERod's in this range, if I'm not mistaken, too, correct? Yes, he is. So I have to see if anybody, Joey, we'll have to see. I think he's actually going to be mentioned here, because we're going to talk about ERod a little bit. He's going to be somebody we're going to see how many shares everybody has of him. But let's kind of hop into that ERod range here, and let's go back to you, Scott, who in this range, let's stay in the same range. Let's just flip the coin here. Let's go the players that we maybe are not liking to draft as much in this range. Getting ahead of myself here. And who's that player for you?
Probably going to upset everybody with this one, because it's someone that everybody in the world loves. And I love watching him pitch, but my fade in here is actually Shane McClannahan in Tampa Bay.
Sugar Shane.
I apologize to everybody. I know everybody loves him. He debuted against the A's last year. I remember, who the hell is this guy? This guy's throwing 98 with tail on it. There's a lot of good stuff here. I mean, I'll start with the good stuff. Strong K rate. The walk rate for a rookie was pretty good at 7%. Really nice swinging strike rate, almost 15% there. I like the combo of the strikeouts with the ground balls. My concern, and you have to find concerns in here. I mean, it's a pretty high price here. You're making it's a top 10 round pick in a 15-teamer, any kind of deep league, and hard contact's a big concern with me. He's at 45% last year, 10.7% barrel. I think he gives up a lot of loud contact. You look at some of his metrics, the xERA is 4.6. That worries me there. I worry about how the Rays use him too. I mean, we always see a situation where, are they going to piggyback him with someone? Will they let him go 6? How are we looking at for wins in that situation? And then you flip on his StatCast page, and it starts to get concerning. You look at second percentile exit velo, 6th percentile hard hit, 31st percentile xERA, 21st percentile xBA, 28th percentile x slug, 10% barrel. There's a lot of really dark blue numbers on his StatCast page. The K numbers are really good, but the rest is kind of rough. I mean, he has great whiff rates on slider, curve, and change. There's a lot of great stuff here, but we're talking about, who we like at the price. I mean, I like him as a pitcher. I think he's going to be really good really soon. I just think it's the ADP's pick 104. That's the 7-8 turn. There's enough on his kind of the metrics, kind of the worries with the Rays, that I think I just like other pitchers in the range more than him.
Yeah, it's a very hard thing to talk with Shane McClannahan. Obviously, Shane Baz going down today, missing some time, more security for him in the rotation. But I mean, like you said, it's a very tantalizing profile. Over 10K per 9 last year. Barely a home run per 9, but got hit extremely hard. Do you have many Shane McClannahan shares this year?
I'm a late drafter, so I have not drafted very much. But I think you're going to get I wouldn't be surprised if you're looking at like a 3.95 ERA when the year's over. And I don't think that works in the price range.
That's fair enough. Haven't seen too much of him, and he's getting the helium that a lot of these other young pitchers are getting. So I'm assuming you have him firmly behind Manaea and Trevor Rogers.
Firmly behind.
Okay. Yeah, but those are the three kind of young, attractive. Everybody wants to get a piece of these three guys.
I like Manaea. I love Trevor Rogers.
Yeah. I think we talked about Trevor Rogers last week, and we were all kind of on the same page as well. I haven't seen too many people off of him, so I'm with you on that. Elsie, let's go back to you, and let's go and talk about a player that you're not too fond of in this range. And for you, it's Shane Baz. We just kind of mentioned with the injury. Is that the big reason?
Actually, I found out about the injury as I was researching. I was off of Baz before this. I thought that his usage was going to be too unpredictable, especially with the way Tampa Bay uses pitchers. The fact that he's such a high prospect for him, I wasn't sure how much he was going to start, how they were going to use him. This injury actually just confirmed that they're not going to use him that much, at least to start the season. He's not going to be thrown for at least 2 weeks. They're taking loose bodies out of his elbow, and they're probably going to baby him when he comes back. So the injury kind of just reinforces it. I'm not even sure where you would try to take him right now. I'm thinking he drops a considerable amount, considering the fact that they're going to want to treat him with a bit of a kid gloves because they have so much invested in him, and he's one of their best prospects. Yeah.
And the injury only, again, complicates the matters there. So that there's that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Tallman, you are out on an old division rival who recently has gotten a lot of helium going to the San Francisco Giants. Is the injury risk the biggest thing for you? Is the lack of maybe him repeating? Why are you out on Carlos Rodon?
Yeah, I think it's a good mix of all of that. So we know about his velocity being down. He's often injured. He's only pitched over 160 innings one time, and that was in 2016. And so it's just, when you're in this range, and these are some guys I'd rather have: Chris Bassitt, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Sonny Gray. I'd rather have all three of those over Carlos Rodon. And I think San Francisco is going to actually do a great job with them. That's what they do. They're very smart with this kind of thing. They're going to pace him out. They're going to have him sit when he needs to. And that's going to hurt us fantasy-wise. I don't think to expect he's going to be out there every fifth, start. I don't know what their plan is. Probably every 5 starts. I think he'll be, rested often, and they're going to preserve him because that's what they do with vets, and that's what they've been successful with. And so if they actually do plan on making the playoffs, they're going to pace him out throughout the entire season. And you're not going to want to be behind that. And that's if everything goes right. He's still pretty good, but you're still, when there's like workhorses out here, like still with high K percentages, I'd rather get them.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it doesn't, like you said, the fact that they have so many pitchers there's no reason for them to push him. People were talking about Tyler Beede as a potential sleeper this year. Now he's like the 8th starting pitcher on that roster. Yeah. So no need to push these guys. Maybe 130 innings is kind of what you could hopefully expect for the best at this point. They have aspirations for a World Series. They're not going to push their guys. Doc, let's finish this out really quick for us here. Why don't you tell us why you are also just piggyback on Rodon, if there's anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, 2021 was a career high in terms of K percentage, career low, and walk percentage. He had a .96 whip. And his previous low for a season was 1.26. It's 1.30 for his career. So that's a huge outlier. And just look at the first half. The ERA through 89.2 innings the first half, 43 the second half. It's normally what we see with him, fatigue. And he had an increase in ERA as soon as they kind of banned the sticky stuff mid-June to a high 3s ERA. So I just don't think you can trust him full season.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we kind of all are feeling the same about Rodon. Scott, really quick before we move on to the next range here, at his price right now, which for Carlos Rodon, he's going around pick 107 and a min of 73, max of 149 over the last 2 weeks. Do you think you'll have some Carlos Rodon this year?
I don't, and I think that min is going to be more popular than the ADP at the moment. I think people are going to push him up. I think people are, see the Kevin Gossman, Desclafani stuff last year with the Giants. I think everybody believes in them now. They believe Farhan wouldn't have signed him unless he was healthy. I just think there's going to be someone in every draft that's going to be more willing to take the jump on him than I am.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And I'm an A's fan. It's been hard enough. Let's not talk about Giants and World Series together. Let's not stick that. Let's not stick that in. That's
dude. He's never gonna want to come back on.
Well, you know what? The best transition is to talk about the Minnesota Twins because that's my favorite team, and they are new number 1 pitcher in that rotation, Sonny Gray, who Scott is loving right now. This is his favorite player to draft in the 41 to 50 range. Scott, why should we all be drafting Sonny Gray?
Mostly because I'm biased and he was on the A's. No, I'm kidding. I love the move for Gray. I mean, I think moving to a much better park, getting out of Cincinnati is a good thing for him. The home runs hurt him last year as 1.26 home runs per 9. Has not been over 1 since the dreaded New York Yankees years, where obviously that just didn't work at all. But I just think, K rate's really good, 27%. The walk rate's a little high. I'd like to see him jump that down a touch. He was at 8.7% last year. But I love the ground balls. Another guy that, strikeouts and ground balls, he was 47% last year, but he's usually over 50%. Like I love when you get those guys, combo guys. You got to get 3 hits to score against guys like that. I love a ground ball with the strikeout. You just kind of limit the big innings. You look at some of the metrics, his xERA was 3.25. Love to see that. Hard contact just suppresses it. Like one of the best guys. Hard contact is always a little bit noisy, but when I get someone who's on the extremes kind of year after year after year, I believe that there's something there. I know some people don't, but hard contact under 32% each of the last 3 years, barrel rate under 5% the last 2 years, never over 7% in the season. Like those are great numbers for a guy, and it's consistent. It's not like he just does it once and then he pops back up every single year. He clearly does something to kind of induce a lot of soft contact. You look at his StatCast page, super red all over the place, especially the hard contact. All the X numbers are really good. I like his pitch mix. He throws 4 pitches over 15% of the time. I just love that, especially kind of going into a new division. I think that's going to work really well. Whiff rates over 30% of the curve. Whiff rates over 40% of the slider. I love how he mixes match everything. I like how he battles. I think he's going to be really good in Minnesota. And this is a range where I don't actually love a lot of guys. You sent us the list for the 10 pitchers in here, and I was kind of like, and it's actually a really good practice to go through. I realized that in the next 10 down, there's like 4 or 5 guys I like. Where here, maybe not doing as much. So maybe as I realize I go through a draft and maybe attack some hitters in this range or Gray and then kind of pop back to later. So I think it's a really good practice to kind of figure out where you got those pockets of value. But Gray's definitely my biggest target in this range.
Yeah, and one of the things that you kind of touched on too is if you realize there's certain ranges where you don't want pitching, then if you map out your draft, then you're like, okay, this is a range where I'm going to draft a hitter. This is a range I'm going to draft pitchers, and you can construct how you draft ahead of time and not be kind of stuck when it is your pick. When you're looking for each guy. But back to Sonny Gray, like you mentioned, StatCast page all red. If you're a bull, please do not take a look at it. And if you go look at his profile, like you mentioned, the hard hit percentage being so low, I got to ask you though, Scott, how do you feel about hard hit percentages compared to max EVs? Because talking about max exit velocities for hitters is something that most people have been talking about as a good metric for wanting to determine if this guy, potentially could turn a corner, if they had their stats not what you expect them to be. Max EV's kind of taken over in that sense. As far as for pitchers, with somebody like Sonny Gray, who has a great hard hit percentage, but not the best max EV in terms of, a few years ago in 2019, he was bottom 7% of the league. And then this past season, actually a little bit higher than that, bottom 10% of the league there. What are your thoughts on those two comparisons? Do they kind of not relate to you, or what do you kind of feel for that for pitchers?
First of all, I won't claim to be as smart as some of the super stat guys. You get like an Alex Chamberlain, because I'm not in that world, and I don't even pretend to be. But for me, with hard contact stuff, I really look at the extremes. Like there's a lot of noise, I feel like, between the 30th and maybe like the 35th and the 65th percentile. I look for guys in the extremes. Someone like Gray who suppresses it year after year after year. We talking about like Nelson Cruz. Like those numbers are the same. There's some meaning to me in those when you get guys who are really consistent in that top like 20th percentile of those stats. So for me, it's extremes. I really kind of avoid the stuff in the middle. Those move around a lot. But when you got guys that show consistency and the extremes, I do pay attention to that. I'm not a huge max EV person. I always like, if Greg Gibbs like hung one bad slider to the wrong guy, like suddenly his max EV is ruined. I get that it shows what you can do, but like if we had that stat when Willie Mo Pena was playing, like it would have been the top guy in that. But I get it. I get why it's a little more sticky than average exit velocity. And I've read some of those studies, and I'm not smart enough to fully get them, but I do understand them a little bit. But I'm more of someone who looks for contact numbers at the extremes and over consistent time periods.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think it's one of those things, again, people that are interested in kind of looking at this data, you can kind of make conclusions yourself on what you feel like is important for each player and use it in your own draft. So, Scott's been very successful. He knows what's working for him and what he wants to look at. And again, that's kind of how you guys should do it too, if you're watching and want to kind of figure this stuff out for yourself as well. Now let's go to you, Mr. Tallman, and let's talk about ERod, who was mentioned earlier in the comments. Our guy Joey chimed in and talked about his 80% shares. ERod.
He's a smart guy.
I have zero ERod, and he also mentioned Kopech and Gilbert. Feels like always reaches for one of them. Now, I know LC is going to touch on Logan Gilbert, so just hang on 1 second with that. We're going to talk about ERod first. Go ahead. Talk about your homerism, your Tigers and ERod.
This would be, I guess, a homer pick here for this. But, so 2021, he had the career high, ERA. And so that I think on the surface, that kind of shies people away. You just dig just one little bit deeper. He had a 3.32 FIP, 3.43 xFIP. Those are all career highs for him. His K strikeout minus walk percentage is 21.6, which is nothing to snuff at. It's pretty good. He limits hard contact, and he had a career high 27.4 strikeout percentage. So you add that, the numbers look good. The ERA looks solid. We don't question how many innings he's going to pitch. I think we should expect somewhere around 180. Projections have him about 170. And then we talk about the move to the ballpark. So he's going to Comerica Park. It's a lot more friendly confines there, not only at home, but playing within your own division. Obviously, the White Sox are good, but outside of that, the Royals, they're not what the Rays were. They were the second best offense in baseball. We know what the Yankees can do. So friendlier confines. I think the Tigers team is going to be somewhere around 500, maybe a little north of that, but I wouldn't expect too much there. So I don't know about wins, but, I'm liking everything that I'm seeing. And he has plus command at the end of the day. So I like to see that too.
That was an excellent sell job. I like that.
Thank you.
And I'll have you know that I have not purchased any A's gear since they went in this tanking job, but I have bought a Tiger shirt because my daughter's T-ball team is the Tigers. So we're good. We're good. I might have to shift loyalty a little bit here.
There we go. I love it.
Live on Triple Play. Scott is jumping ship from the A's to the Tigers.
Yeah.
I actually do sales in my profession. So look at that. I sold.
That was well done. I think I've kind of nudged him up into someone that I'm going to look at a little closer in this range, because there are kind of a paucity of guys in this range that I like. So I like that.
Yep.
Yeah. And Joey, he said friendly confines. I'm a Cubs fan. Match made in heaven for ERod. I have zero ERod shares. Maybe I haven't drafted him at all. I don't think I will. So either I'm gonna regret that, or like Marty said, I'm gonna, maybe I'll regret it, or I'll, whatever. But good job with the ERod. You're definitely making me think twice about that. LC, I want to go back to you because just what Joey brought before about loving Kopech and Logan Gilbert. And I know you want to talk about Logan Gilbert, but both these guys are very tantalizing in this range, and people I find myself trying to draft a lot of too. They have obviously the big league inning pitch concerns. They're kind of unknowns in this sense. But why are you big on Logan Gilbert?
Well, what Scott said about this range being a range that I'm not generally targeting, guys, Gilbert kind of fits the type of profile pitcher that I try to go for, guys who don't walk a lot, guys who keep a low whip, because I like to make sure that my whip stays at a pretty low pretty low rate as I go through the draft. I don't want to take a guy, especially at this range in the draft, who I feel might have whip concerns, because I feel like whip is something that can get out of hand as you go through the draft, and you have to really watch it. Gilbert has an elite walk rate. He also has a really good K rate, and I think that he had a little bit of troubles his first time through the league last year. First opportunity. I think his second time through, he's going to experience a little bit more success, even though I think he did very well for his first chance through. And also he's throwing a little bit harder. I mean, maybe it's just with the adrenaline of being back in spring, but he was clocked at 98 on field 2 the other day in Mariners camp, whereas he was sitting around 95 last season. Who knows? Maybe he comes out with a little bit more juice on that fastball and help him with his K rate, which was already above average. Like I said, this isn't a range where I'm grabbing a lot of these pitchers, but according to the type of profile I'm looking for, Gilbert with that excellent walk rate and the K to walk rate being pretty elite, Gilbert's a guy who I would go after in this range.
Do we know who's holding the gun on field 2?
I don't. I just saw a tweet. I really just saw a tweet, and
I always love the field 2 throwing 98 tweets. Those always crack me up.
I fell victim to it, I guess, this time.
No, Gilbert was really good in the last 6 starts, 2.70 ERA last 6 starts. He was someone that, came up and everybody was fired up and then was really bad. But that last stretch, I think, says a lot about how he adjusted back to the league. Yeah.
And I mean, was he 6'6"? I mean, he gets to the mound, like with that release point, with how tall he is, like it gets on you quickly, that 97, 98 too, which is why I think he's so tantalizing. You could see him making that next step to being elite. And I know many others in the industry are very high on him this year and are trying to get him as like an SP4, high-end SP4. And I'm definitely one of those people that have been trying to do that. Sounds like Joey as well. He's definitely somebody I think people are liking to take the gamble on. But Doc, really quick, why don't you finish out this part for us? Give us your Cliff Notes version of Mr. Framber Valdez, the ground ball god, as we like to call him.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's a popular pick, obviously, as you mentioned, ground ball god. I mean, he's getting more innings each year, from 37 to 70.2, that exact number back-to-back, to 134.2. Scott, I'm sorry about this jab, but he's going to face the A's a decent amount.
That is a well-worthy jab. It's true. When Elvis Anderson hitting second for any team, you should take all the jabs you want.
But I really look, for me, if he can get his fastball velocity up a little bit more. Last year was clocking around 92, and people actually hit 381 off of that. He threw it 111 times. And back in 2020, it was at 93.2 miles per hour, and nobody got a hit off of him, and he threw it 21 times. Now, not saying he's going to have a 0 batting average against it, but it's not going to be 381. So if he can increase that velocity a little bit, I think he's a great value.
Yeah, I've seen people kind of mixed about him. Some people are like Framber Valdez, obviously great ground balls, but there are some chinks in his armor last year. I think people are a little bit more hesitant to draft than as they were last year. Doc, do you have a lot of Framber Valdez this year?
I have a couple shares of him. I've noticed I have a lot of Astros pitchers between him, Urquidy, Javier. I have Verlander in a league or two.
No, you would have no Christian. You said you have Christian Javier?
Yeah, I have a couple of shares of Javier.
He's somebody I would make sure you take a look at. Very high in Christian Javier. But yeah.
I really like Urquidy, so I'm on board there too.
A lot of Astros, a lot of Astros here, but again, with that offense and the division, not necessarily bad guys to target. Let's go to the other side and talk about players in this range we're not too fond of here. And got to go back to you, Scott. And we talked about Framber Valdez. We could talk about the fade. Again, I mentioned there may be some chinks in the armor there. You also said potentially Zac Gallen. Who do you feel like you'd rather talk about?
My fade here is actually, when I look closer, is actually Zac Gallen. I'm more than a little bit worried about how 2021 kind of worked out, both on the surface and you look a little deeper. It's obviously rough from a fantasy angle with 4.3 ERA, 1.29 WHIP, and 121 innings. But you look a little closer, man. His swing strike rate dropped to 9.1%. Like, that's a brutal number for him. We're trying to get strikeouts from guys. The Ks were still 26%, but I worry maybe that goes a little bit lower. I don't like that his walk rate jumped up to 9.4%. He was in the 18th percentile. He was bad there. 18th percentile in hard hit rates was not really excited. He gave up a lot of home runs. the thing I'm worried about him is how much he changed his pitch mix. And I'm worried that he did so for an injury reason. He threw 54% four-seam fastballs last year. And they were effective. They were pretty good. It was 217 batting average against, but I worry like if he was just throwing that many fastballs as the other, he didn't throw their pitches because his arm wasn't right. That concerns me a little bit. His whiff rate was 28th percentile overall, chase rate 20%. I wasn't really getting guys to chase. Probably a lot of that was the fact that he wasn't throwing as many breaking balls. I don't know, just in this range, like his StatCast page is pretty blah. There's not much to get excited about with Gallen. I think there's enough here that I'm actually worried that something's not right with him, and I'm just not taking the chance at this price.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, him in this range here. Did they say he's fully clear from his injuries, or they say like I haven't seen too much about it if he's back to 100% or not. That's what kind of scares me.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that said he's not, but there was enough in the profile that I thought maybe he was kind of compensating for something last year.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of those guys I remember really early on this offseason that everybody was like, I'm going to buy the dip. Like, his injury was nothing to do with, it was more kind of just a bone injury. It's not like it was something with his shoulder rotator cuff or something that, or his elbow where you were concerned about him pitching long term. So, but it's definitely kind of fallen back a little bit recently. So I can understand the concerns there. Doc, let me go back to you and let's talk about Clayton Kershaw. I know there's the pretty obvious part here. So if you want to just quickly tell us why you're fading Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, so last year threw 121 innings, which was the lowest in a full season since his rookie year in 2008, 14 years ago. PRP injection in October. Obviously, that's 6-ish months ago, but that's not something I like to hear for a pitcher. He's going to get hurt at some point during the year, so keep in mind he will be a bench spot. And I think the Dodgers are likely going to manage. Like, do we all agree that this is Kershaw's last year?
Yeah, I think it is actually.
I don't think it's not necessarily.
Okay, there's a good chance
maybe
that it's his
two
last year. Don't you think the Dodgers are going to want to keep him fresh for the playoffs, where they'll manage his innings, where he goes, maybe he skips his turn in the rotation once every 3 times? Like, I just don't think you're going to get longevity and the innings you're looking for from Clayton. Like, he will probably give you 5 solid innings, but I could see less than 120 this inning or 120 this year.
It's not like the Giants where they don't have to push their pitchers. And if, they brought in Tyler Anderson, they brought in Andrew Heaney, not necessarily sexy guys, but at the end of the day, like if you need guys to soak up some starts and some innings, especially with that offense, at the end of the day, they're like, you know what, like we're 10 games up on our division and, or 20 games up, which wouldn't surprise me at a certain point with that team. And, maybe they're like 6 games up on the Wild or, over the second place team. And they're like, we need some spot starts from some guys to save guys down the road. Like I could see that happening and they're building that depth. So I could see Doc, like you're saying, holding back on his innings to be able to save him for the postseason. So that applies in there. Marty.
By the way, if Tyler Anderson gets lit up in a game, I recommend not tweeting about that because his dad got really pissed at me last year for tweeting about it.
What?
Wait! Why didn't his dad get pissed at me? I tweeted negatively. Was it the 9 earned run game against the Angels?
It was, yeah. And
my gosh, he didn't tweet at me.
He been pretty decent for a while, and he gave the 9 runs. I'm like, oh well, there's the Tyler Anderson outing everybody's been waiting for. And his dad was not pleased. I didn't tag him. I just wrote his name, so he must have searched for it. Obviously, he doesn't follow me or anything like that. But yeah, he was not pleased that Tyler Anderson that I tweeted that.
What did he steer? What did he?
I don't remember. Something about like, why would you say something like that? It seems way. I don't remember what he said, but he definitely wrote back to me. I'd have to go look, but he was not pleased by my tweet. It was pretty funny.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it was pretty awesome. I was like, all right, maybe you may need a hobby rather than searching your son's name on Twitter.
Oh, maybe I'll give him another chance.
Yeah, because Doc and I were in our home league. We were in the championship against each other, and he had that outing. Yep. He had that outing for Doc, and that almost lost him.
It's a points league, and he got -27.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 innings, 9 earned. It was really bad. Yeah.
0 Ks.
0 Ks. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about Tyler Anderson, so I'm gonna take the fifth on that.
That's an amazing story. Marty, really quick, Joey brought up Michael Kopech. He's become one of the darlings, one of the breakouts of the industry. You are one of the few guys I see that are out on Michael Kopech.
It's too much.
Why?
Look, I mean, you got to look what's around. Look, Sonny Gray's right there, Logan Gilbert right there. 2 people I'd rather have. There's just too many question marks. So, I mean, in 2018, he had a 5.02 ERA. I know he's fixed a lot of stuff, but, we're still not really sure what his role is going to be. If they're going to let him go 5-6 innings, all the time. Look, you look at his numbers last year; they're incredible. Okay, but I'm just not. It's a little too early for me. I'd like the pitchers ahead with less question marks.
What if you guys had to throw a number out at what his innings pitch at the end of the year? Where would you guys be at?
I'd say
95.
I'd say 120.
120 was the number I was going to say as well.
So definitely below a lot of the projection systems. And
I was looking up right now what his projections were.
They're like Steamers 141, the bats 131, ATC's 131. If he throws 120, you just can't take him in this range, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't think so.
And they're going to say, I mean, this is another World Series bound team. Like that's what their goal is. So they're going to stretch them out as much, use them when they can, when they have to.
And he threw 5 innings once last year.
Ooh.
Once. And then granted, he was a reliever not starting, but like, is he suddenly going to be throwing 6 innings a night? I don't know.
So him or Sonny Gray in this range? It's like, what are we talking about?
For me, it's easy, but I know people love see the strikeout rate and love Kopech for a while. So I get it.
His numbers were incredible last year. There's no doubt about it.
Roster Resource has him as the 5th starter right now. So, I mean, they're projecting him to be a solid 5th in the rotation. I mean, does Ronaldo Lopez enter as a 6th? Or Vince Velasquez and potentially get some starts? There's not many guys I'm going to sit here and be like, I just know it's a matter of when and not if they get hurt. Kopech is one of those guys. I just see like Kopech goes on the 15-day IL, and I'm going to see that 2 times this year. Like, I think when he's pitching, he's going to be really good and he's going to be worth this price. But the problem is I just don't see enough innings or enough, again, that I think the kind of injury stuff bouncing back in. Like you guys mentioned, Sonny Gray being there, somebody is going to be a lot more reliable. That kind of scares me a little bit.
David, it wouldn't be.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say it wouldn't be a segment about Michael Kopech if you didn't talk about how he dates only smokes.
Oh yeah, no, I always talk about that. His choice in women, very good. His fantasy outlook is a little bit more mixed than that. So, Kopech, if it was a fantasy league about dating women, I would draft you 1.01 for sure.
Derek Jeter is the ultimate keeper, even retired.
Yeah. Pure stuff standpoint, it might stand their best pitcher, but I agree all your points being made. Yeah. It's I think at that point it's a very cop-out answer. It's your roster construction. Like, do you have a lot of guys earlier on that are safer and are going to give you innings where you can take a gamble on somebody like that? Or do you have a staff that's not as stable and you need to take the Sonny Grays that you're like, hey, 150 innings, 3.5 ERA, guys like I know are going to be healthy and help me. So I think that's kind of also how you have to look at it as well. LC, really quick, give us your Cliff Notes version. Wrap this up here. Talk about why you're fading Pablo Lopez, who I think, he's going to have his 1 or 2 games a year. He's going to be absolutely awful. Maybe his dad will find you on Twitter. But why are you fading Pablo?
I just want to know where the injury discount is on Pablo. I mean, this shoulder, the right rotator cuff, it didn't look necessarily like something that was going to keep him out the rest of the season. Last July, when he went on the 10-day IL, he had setbacks in his recovery, eventually moved to the 68-day IL. He didn't come back till September. To me, I don't know where the discount is on Pablo Lopez. He's going around the same place he went last year after missing almost half the season with a shoulder injury. So I think Lopez is an elite talent. I think he's going to pitch well. He pitched well the other day. I forget who they played, but he was looking really good. Just doesn't matter to me that he's looking really good in spring training because I'm not trusting that he's still going to be out there 162 games this year. 30 starts this year. I think you can't really expect more than 120, 130 innings from him. He's never gone more than 125 innings in a season, including minor leagues.
No, I get it. I mean, he's somebody I think some people will say like he's, when he's in there, he's going to be worth it. But then how much are you actually getting him? He's hurt. So it's same kind of, we talk about the risk profile with injuries. We're going to now go to our last part of this segment, the 51 to 60 range. And what I'm going to have you guys do is give us your favorite and your fade in this range together. And we'll just kind of go a little quicker with these ones because I don't want Scott to have to be here all night. I know Scott's a busy man. So let's do
hanging out with you guys is better than what the other stuff I'm doing. So I'm
I love it. So Scott, let's go to you. Your favorite and your fade in the 51 to 60 range.
So I love this range. I like the other ranges. I was trying to I like Sonny Gray and who else? And then this range, there's 4 or 5 guys I like here. But I'm going to go, everybody's heard me talk too much about Patrick Sandoval, so I'm going to let somebody else take him. I do love Patrick Sandoval at the price, but I think an interesting guy in here is actually Jordan Montgomery. 3.8 ERA last year in 30 starts. Obviously, we talk about guys like Kopech. Wins are tough in Major League Baseball now, and he's a guy that will pitch innings. He pitched 157 last year, and he plays for a really good offense. I know the AL East is tough, but wins are very much in play here. K rate was about 25%. Like I see that bump up a little bit. I think it might. He's got a 13.7% swinging strike rate, so I think maybe the K's jump up a little bit. Good ground ball rate, which I think you need in the AL East. You need Yankee Stadium. I like that. Hard contact was decent last year. I talk about Red StatCast pages probably too much. His is not great. It's a little middling, but I think the big problem here is that his sinker sucks. Like, he was awful last year. He threw it 22% of the time, 359 batting average against, 524 X slug. The whiff was really low on it. I think the key for me in Montgomery is just a little tweak. If he throws that sinker less, you look at his other pitches, changeup he threw 25% of the time, 39% whiff rate, batting average under 200. Curveball 24% of the time, 43% whiff rate, batting average under 200. Like, I think if he just shifts a little bit more four seamers, less sinkers, and then sticks with the change and curve, kind of the same percentage, I think a little tweak here make him give that extra little step that I think could be a really good value in this range. ADP is about 196 right now, so we're talking like round 13, 14 to 15 teamer. I think it's a guy that will get you wins, which are going to be very hard to find. I think the ratios will be a little bit better than we think.
Yeah, and LC, I just wanted to have you jump in on that too, because you live and breathe Jordan Montgomery.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Love him. I love him. And if you look from the end of May until the end of the season, Jordan Montgomery had a 21 start span where he had a 3.03 ERA and a 3.21 FIP. So that's better than Garrett Cole did over that time period. So I think that Jordan Montgomery is a guy who I'm thinking has a nice arrow going up on his career, and I think last year was just the first taste of it.
Ooh, you leave us leaving the taste for more with that. I like that. Scott, I'll go back to you. And who's your fade in this range?
My fade in this range is another one that probably upsets people because it's a really sexy helium guy. Is actually Tarek Skubal. I always mess up his name too, but Skubal. I just think he's super, super hittable. I don't like what I see. I mean, last year was 4.34, 1.26, and I get everybody loves the strikeout rate. Everybody likes the, kind of what he showed late. Everybody likes the changeup. The changeup's a 50% whiff pitch. You only use it 12% of the time, but there are some good things there. But and you look at home runs, 2.1 for 8 home runs per 9. He gave 35 home runs last year in 150 innings. The xERA is 5.62. And you talk about a StatCast page. He's under 10th percentile in hard hit rate, xWOBA, xERA, xSlug, barrel, chase rate. Not just bad, but under 10th percentile bad. That's extreme bad. The swing strike rate's is decent at 11%. I could get he's going to get strikeouts, but man, if you care about ratios, I think you stay far away here from an ADP that's under 200. The ADP is like 180 something right now. I am far, far away on this price.
Is he your least favorite of the Tigers pitchers between him, Mize, and Matt Manning?
Yeah, I don't really like any of them that much this year. I mean, I love them into the future. The Tigers are really building something nice. But yeah, he's my least favorite just because considering the price is so much different than him. I think the other guys, like Mize, can kind of squint and see something at the price. Manning apparently is throwing a lot harder in camp, but I just think Skubal is way, way overpriced. Sorry, Marty, for the. I gave you the Tiger. I gave you the Tigers love earlier, so I had to come back with a little bit. So I apologize for that.
I have 0 shares of
the
pitchers.
That says a lot.
I agree.
That says a lot as a Tigers fan, right there.
Yeah, I watched them hit home runs off them. There are bombs.
Yeah.
There was a Matt Manning thread on Twitter today. I saw actually a couple people post about it, and that his velocity was up, but people were still skeptical of his stuff. So. Very fair concerns with him and a lot of the Tigers' young pitchers there. LC, while we're at it, why don't you give us your fade, and then we'll hear from Doc and Marty on a couple of their guys.
Clev Dog's my fave. I love Clev Dog. Love watching him pitch. I just think it's a little bit too quick. Coming back from TJ's tough. He's only been about 17 months since his TJ. Average recovery time is about 20 months when you're pitching again at the major league level, according to a study that was released in 2016. And also, it's well known that control doesn't come back very quickly when you're coming back from TJ. I worry about Clevinger's control, and I also worry about him re-injuring. Pardon me for also then just throwing this little stat out there that Cleveland traded him, and they seem to trade guys that they know are starting to get injury prone. And so to me, I'm just off of Clevinger. He's going to have to show me that he's back before I'm going to draft him because of all those concerns.
And those are fighting words to Doc because that's his love in this range. He's long been a Mike Clevinger fan, and he wants to defend his boy Clev Dog.
Yeah, I mean, are you drafting him? What is he, pitcher 56?
According to the I'll get you. He's right now starting pitcher 52.
Okay, so you're drafting him as pitcher 52. Yeah, he's not going to be fully healthy, but A's manager said he had, or I'm sorry, Padres manager said he had.
That felt personal right there. That was the most intentional slip of the podcast so far.
I know.
You guys were supposed to be friends too.
I know. He has a spot in the rotation, and you look at his ERA from all the years he's been healthy. 3.02, 2.71, 3.02, 3.11. So, look, is he going to be the old Clev where he's going 7-8 innings? No, probably not. But I think building up his arm, and we worry about a lot of these pitchers to begin the year, they're going to be going 5 or 6. We've talked about how it's tough for wins. So I think the gap between Clevinger and the other pitchers that would pitch 180, 200 innings is smaller. And you're going to get good production from him. Maybe they have him in a little bit of middle relief role, but pitcher 52, I'm okay with that.
All right, let me ask you guys.
I'm sorry. I just wanted. I know he pitched today. Was his first pitch. I didn't see an update on it. I looked right before we came on, but he was pitching to minor leaguers. So I'm going to be looking at what's his name, Jeff Sanders on Twitter, San Diego beat reporter, to see how he did. He's not even pitching it. He's pitching to minor leaguers now. So hopefully he looks good. I still have concerns with Clevinger that he might be someone you draft and you're dropping because his performance is so bad. And you're not getting the good stuff, which comes later in the season when he's more fully recovered from that, TJ. That's my concern.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, after him, you could get Marcus Stroman, Adam Wainwright, Patrick Sandoval, Jordan Montgomery, Hyun-Jin Ryu. I mean, Tanner Houck. There's a lot of guys after him that I would rather take personally. So I think he's kind of a risk at that high end of ADP personally. He could be a risk-reward guy, so I understand why Doc has him there, but I don't know about that personally. Our guy, Mike Carter, checking in. Always love seeing you, Doc. Let's go to Marty. I brought up his name really quickly. A guy that we feel very safe in this range, Marcus Stroman. Why don't you go ahead and appease to your buddy Cheesecake and his Chicago Cubs fandom?
Absolutely. And shout out Mike Carter. It was great to actually meet him in real life. Got to hug him, meet him, talk to him. Great dude, which surprises no one. He's the man. But yeah, so, I mean, it's Marcus Stroman, and, just to quickly go through it, elite ground ball pitcher. He limits home runs. He's in a good ballpark. He plays for Arts Cubs. You
can't even say that with a straight face.
I know. I love his command. I think he's going to be fine. And where he's going, I don't have to worry about him, how many innings he's going to have. He has 4 seasons with over 179 innings pitched. So, they're going to let him pitch as much as possible. I love him on Twitter. I love his attitude. He's a funny guy. It's easy for me. And my dislike's Clevinger, so we can just get that out of the way.
That's right. Yeah. That any other reasons to add on?
He's a knucklehead too.
I can't. You're right. I can't dispute that.
And the only reason why I bring that up because sometimes they don't take rehabilitation as seriously as like your extremely focused players. Now that's something very small. And that's not the reason why. It's all the other things you had said, but I just had to touch on that.
And then Doc, Trevor, speaking of knucklehead, Trevor Bauer, just the risks that come with it.
Yeah, I mean, his extended leave through April 16th. We don't know if there's going to be further suspension. And even if it's not, the public backlash. Like, what if he comes out and just he gets booed and the team says, look, we don't want that PR. Even if he does come back, he has to take time to build up his arm. I don't think anybody's disputing the talent that he has, but I think once again, he's going to take a bench spot and you're going to feel guilty drafting him. Like, let's just put that out there. Like, there's going to be a conscience that you're rooting for him to do well, knowing the reports that are out there. And I think it's just something better safe than sorry to not draft him.
Agreed. But yeah, LC, when did you change your hat?
When he brought up the Cubs.
That's why I started laughing.
Did we ever think the only guy left from the championship team was going to be freaking Jason Hayward?
I saw that tweet the other day.
That's
That reminds
hilarious.
me of the Pistons. Tayshaun Prince was the last guy they held on.
Wait,
Out of
isn't
all
Wil-
those guys,
Isn't Wilson Contreras still on the team?
Was he? I guess he was in the championship team, right?
Yeah, he was. He was a
But
rookie.
just,
when they
it's
won the
amazing
championship.
how far that. I mean, with Bryant and Rizzo, you thought they were going to be, and Addison Russell.
How
Is Addison Russell in jail? I don't even know where Addison Russell is. Speaking
Oh
of,
my God, I haven't heard that name in forever.
Speaking of ex Oakland A's,
What a
standout
name.
prospects, yeah.
Holy crap! How did I
He
forget
and-
about
he,
Addison
he and
Russell?
He and Kyler Murray were awesome first round draft picks. The A's just gem after gem.
God, that Scott, thank you for taking me back. I don't know why I forgot about Addison Russell. What a name.
For good reasons, by the way.
Yeah.
We should all forget about Addison Russell.
My hot take is Kyler comes and plays for the A's in like 3 years, so you'll get some service time, hopefully.
I don't want him on the quarterback of my team, so I guess I could take that. That'd be all right.
All right. Well, the analysis part is done. Now the fun part that makes triple play. Starting, of course, with our question of the week, which is now presented by our new sponsor. That would be, if I could find the clip. That would be by our new sponsor, OddsJam. This video is being sponsored by OddsJam. OddsJam is an innovative solution designed to identify odds that make you the winner every single time. They have the fastest real-time data to spot discrepancies between different sports books and help users place risk-free bets. Profits average 3% every day, which adds up to big earnings. So how does OddsJam work? Well, OddsJam processes the odds over 1 million odds a minute to find the selected few profitable betting opportunities. You as the user will then receive notifications of these opportunities in real time. Finally, you'll place your bets on multiple sports books to cover all possible outcomes. That way, no matter who wins, you do. And so, how are you ready to experience the risk-free profits for yourself? Well, what you can do is you can go to oddsjam.com, and if you use referral code TRIPLEPLAY, you'll be able to get a 7-day free trial to access this stuff for yourself. So make sure you check them out today. Now let's get back to the video. Oh, it's nice when I don't have to talk and I can just play a button. All right. Our question of the week. Which MLB player do you think tips the most at a restaurant? This was Doc's question. Very vague. It could be going any different direction. So, Scott, I'm going to go to you first. Who would you pick for the answer for this question?
So I probably thought about this way too much, as I tend to do. I tend to be an overanalyzer and anxious, but I think you've got to have someone who's not a bonus baby, right? Like someone who's had to like work in their lives and not like just falling. Like I don't think Bryce Harper would be a good answer here because I think he just never knew what money was like. Like when he was 15, he was going to be a millionaire and all that. So I'm going to go with a guy who was a former Uber driver, and I can't imagine anybody would tip better than someone who's a former Uber driver. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins pitcher on the IL right now, but Randy Dobnak, I think, is be a man of the people and would be a fantastic tipper.
I think that's a great point. Like, who better than someone that's in the industry where you would want tips, right, as another job? So I think it's going to be a hard answer to beat because it's very good logic with it. Marty, who's your answer for this question?
mine's going to be because he needs to give back to the people. Fernando Tatis Jr. because he has sucked them 3 months of baseball out of that city. Those people deserve something great. So what I'd love to see him do is just go around every restaurant around the San Diego area and just drop $100 tips. Just saying, hey, I'm sorry, it won't happen again.
I could see it. Does anybody think an ex-player like Brian Wilson would have been somebody that would have tipped well because he's so eccentric that when he would go out to eat, maybe he would just like leave those like $100 tips just because it's like, I feel like the weird guys are the ones like you see Chad Ochocinco for football. Yeah. He's leaving huge tips. It's like the eccentric players that are like, let me make somebody's day and just throw a crazy tip at somebody.
Brian Wilson seems way too grumpy for me for that.
That's a good point too. I'm just thinking
he only tips if you have good facial hair.
What about a Bobby Jenks? Because he always had like really weird facial hair. I think he had like the pink beard or something at one point. Doc, this was your question. Did you have an answer for it?
So I'm going with someone that is now a former player, and that's Ryan Zimmerman. Spent his entire career with the Nationals. They took pretty good care of him, fan favorite. I could just see him going to his local spot, like his favorite local spots, and just tipping really well. Like I can see him. He's the type of guy who goes to 4 to 5 restaurants in rotation, and just they know him, they know his order. He gives him a good tip and just walks out.
Very sensible answer, not a fun answer, but I respect it.
Sorry.
LC, what about you?
I was much more cynical in my answer because I said it's got to be someone like Baltimore Chris Davis or Jason Hayward, someone who took a big contract and stunk. They would have to be in Baltimore, giving good tips so that the fans of the Orioles would be like, he stinks, but he tips really well. That was my answer.
I don't like that answer because Billy Butler just popped in my head as bad contract.
Oh!
That just ruined my night right there.
Oh my gosh.
God, you are a gem for
what a
throwbacks.
freaking nightmare that guy was.
Then they call him like big country boy, or what was his nickname?
Country Breakfast, I think.
Country Breakfast.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was 3 years, $30 million when the A's never signed free agents, and he did literally nothing. It was terrible.
God, they're on some old school names.
Shout out to his barbecue sauce. It was really good.
Oh, there you go. I could see him being good at that.
It was good.
Is that what he's doing now? Is he making barbecue?
No, he
sauce?
did that back when he was in KC.
Oh, okay.
I forget. He got a fist fight with someone in the clubhouse, like month 2 of his contract too. I forget who it was, but like it was brutal the whole way.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, I can't remember who he got in a fist fight with.
All right. Well, let's go to our last segment of the night. It is our game of the week. Doc is hosting our game as I get the tone right with our mood music for our game of the week here. What are we playing, Doc?
All right. Well, we are getting close to opening day. So I have some opening day trivia. Now, what's kind of cool about this game is there's multiple ways you can get points, and you can kind of choose how much risk you want to take. So I'm going to go through. I have 7 questions. I don't have a tiebreaker, but there's going to be multiple points that you can earn. So if anything, we have a tie. David, I always start with you. So I'm going to start with Art, then Marty, then Scott, and then you go last this time. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right. So who is the oldest pitcher to start an opening day? So I'm going to give you the choices. You get 1 point if you tell me the pitcher, and you get 1 point if you can give me the exact age, okay?
All right.
So is it A, Roger Clemens, B, Jamie Moyer, C, Nolan Ryan, or D, Bartolo Colon?
I'm going to say Jamie Moyer at 44.
Okay.
I have Jamie Moyer 44 written down. That is weird.
Scott?
I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go Nolan Ryan at 45.
All right.
I know Bartolo was the last one. What was the first one again?
Roger Clemens.
I'll say if Bartolo is an option, I'm going to pick him. I'll say Bartolo at 44.
2 for Scott. Nolan Ryan at 45. Let's
Wow.
Go. Let's go.
Dang,
Let's
Scott.
go.
Can I leave now and just leave on a high note?
Yeah, sure.
And by the way, Billy Butler punched Danny Valencia. That's who it was.
That was it.
That's right. They played when he was on the Twins, right?
No, both in the A's.
Oh, wow.
Like in the clubhouse, and it was horrible. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
All right, so we got the second question here, and Marty, you're starting. Who is the most strikeouts on opening day? Now you get 1 point if you get a pitcher, or the pitcher, right? You get 1 point if you're within 5 strikeouts, and you get 3 if you get it on the money. So, is it Felix Hernandez, Randy Johnson, Zac Greinke, or Walter Johnson?
Felix Hernandez 16.
No, like total strikeouts for the career.
Oh, for the whole
for their career?
Career on opening day strikeouts.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Just on opening day. Oh my gosh.
Oh, just okay. Say them again. Sorry.
Felix Hernandez, Randy Johnson, Zac Greinke, and Walter Johnson.
Randy Johnson, 300.
Okay.
Seems like a lot.
Scott?
I feel like Felix started every opening day for Seattle forever. So I'm going to go Felix. I'm going to go 11 seasons, do a little math. I'm going to go 125.
Okay. David?
I think it's Zac Greinke because I feel like he's had such a long career, and most teams he's been on, he's like usually the 1 or 2 starter. I think I had a longer stretch than Felix. I'm going to say Zac Greinke and 133.
Okay. And Art?
Just Walter Johnson had 416 career wins, pitched like 24 seasons, so it's possible he had like 20 opening day starts. So I'm gonna go.
I like
Walter
how he
Johnson,
just,
and I'm
it
gonna
just
say
shows he
100.
has that
Yeah.
knowledge on hand. That's
I'm
talk about the humble brag right there.
going to spit this out at some point. Might as well do it
Right?
now.
I love it.
When you said Walter Johnson, he was the outlier because he's way older than the other ones. So I'm gonna go 135. Walter Johnson.
All right. Well, keep in mind it's strikeouts on opening day, and it's Randy Johnson with 107.
I was
So-
way off on the number, but I got the name right.
There you
Yep.
go,
So
Marty.
Marty's the only one with a point. So question 3, we're starting with Scott. Who has the most opening day starts? So you get 1 point for the pitcher. You get 1 point if you're within 3 starts, and you get 3 points if you're on the money. So the options are Clayton Kershaw, Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan, or Tom Seaver.
Oof. I'm gonna go back to Nolan Ryan, and I'm gonna go with what he played till he's 46, 23. I'm gonna go with 16.
Okay.
I'll go Tom Seaver and I'll go 13.
Okay. Art.
Roger Clemens, and 14.
Okay.
No
Marty.
Ryan 13.
All right. Well, the answer, Tom Seaver was 16. So David gets 1, but Scott gets 3 because he got the amount of starts on the money.
Oh, there we go. I'm talking about.
So after 3, Scott's got 5, David and Marty got 2, and Art got 1.
Okay.
All right.
We're in striking distance.
So this one you can get multiple points. So these 2 teams have the most consecutive opening day wins. Now, if I give you no hint, it's going to be 3 points of what division they're in. But if you want the hint of which division, you can only get 1 point for each.
Okay.
So,
Sorry, daughter walked in.
okay. So these 2 teams, and one is NL, one is AL. You get 3 points if you can tell me which team they are. But if you want to narrow it down and get the division that they're in, you get 1 point.
Are you like an art game show host right now? Because it's very confusing.
No, so one AL team and one NL team have the most consecutive wins on opening day.
Okay.
If you want a hint for the division that they are in,
Should we just
Okay.
guess
Get
one
1 point.
team?
well, if it's rather you want 3 points or if you want to try to get 1.
Okay.
I gotcha.
So if anybody wants the
I
3
need
point guess,
the points because I'm way
Yeah.
down.
I'll take the points as well.
okay, so you guess an AL and you guess an NL team.
I'm gonna take the hint when we get there.
Okay.
I'll be
Okay.
points. Give me them.
All
Okay,
right.
so we're starting
All right,
then
so
with David on this
Do
one.
I start?
No, David does. Give me an AL and an NL team.
For most consecutive wins on opening day.
Yep, and you get 3 points if you get each.
I'm gonna say the American League. I'm gonna go with the. Or let me start with National League. I'll go with the Giants. And the American League, I'll go with the Red Sox.
Okay. Art?
I don't know why I think the Reds, but I'm going to say the Reds for the National League. They seem to be all of those records belong. The Reds seem to have them, and I'm going to go with the A's. I think they might have done it in the 70s. They had a really good team for a long time, so they might have won like 5 or 6 straight opening days. I don't know.
Okay, Marty?
I literally had Red and Red Sox, but that's not fun. So I don't know how that happened. So anyway, I'm gonna switch it up. Mets, and then White Sox.
Okay, so Scott?
Yep.
One team is in the AL Central and the other is in the NL Central.
Oh dang! It's both my answers.
All right, I'm gonna go Brewers and White Sox.
Reds and Tigers. So
Oh,
Art got
Reds.
3. You should have just stayed with the Reds.
Well done.
Wow.
All right. So question 5.
How many do we have?
We have 7.
Okay.
This team has the best opening day win percentage. And I'll give you a hint. It's a flat number, like 32%. So you're going to get 1 point if you give me the team. You're going to get 1 point if you're within 5% of their winning percentage. And you're going to get 3 points on the money. All right.
All right.
So the options are the Mets, the Marlins, the Dodgers, or Scott's A's. And Art, we're starting with you.
He looks lost.
Dodgers 55%.
Okay. Marty?
I had Dodgers 47%.
All right. Scott?
It feels weird they're in there, so I'm going to answer. I'm going to go Marlins 58%.
All right. And David?
Yeah, I got to go with Dodgers. I'll say 52%.
0 for everyone. Mets 65%.
Oh, 65.
Wow.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
high.
Good.
What?
Good opening day record.
It means we should maybe bet on the Mets for opening day.
All right. So, Marty, you are starting with this. On opening day 2019, the Dodgers set an MLB record for home runs on opening day. How many did they hit?
8.
Okay. Scott?
6.
David?
7.
Art?
I'm going to go 9.
It's 8.
Oh, good guess.
So 1 point for Marty. So going into our last question, Scott is 5, Art is 4, Marty has 3, David has 2. So I actually do have a tiebreaker that we can do, but we'll see if we need it. So I believe we are starting with Scott on this one. This player had the most RBIs on opening day in 2021. Is it Travis Shaw, Michael A. Taylor, Nathaniel Lowe, or Victor Caratini?
God, it was only last year. I should know that. I'm going to go Nathaniel Lowe.
Okay.
Michael A. Taylor.
All right. Art?
Low.
Okay. And Marty?
Michael Taylor.
And Marty felt like he knew that one, too.
I think I knew it too.
Yeah.
I think he had 2 grand slams or something.
No, that was one of the second or third games. It's Nathaniel Lowe.
Oh,
So Scott wins with 6, and the man said he wasn't going to do well on the show.
did not.
Scott, glad you won. Glad you
Wow.
won.
I feel a little cheap because I got 3 points for answering the wrong person with the right number of starts, but I'll take it.
Oh man,
It's rules of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
Doc did a good one, and he got Scott the win. I'll definitely wish it was me, but Scott, if it can't be me, I'm glad it's you. And on that note, thank you so much for coming on, Scott. It's always a blast. It's even funner than I would have thought it would have been. So thanks again for coming and hanging out with us.
I appreciate you guys jumping on. There are a lot of podcasts out there. I think you guys easily have the most fun one. I love the games. I love all the stuff. You guys chemistry and camaraderie together is really great. So I do appreciate it in an industry where there are 9 million talking heads. You guys do a really great job, and one of the ones that I enjoy the most. So I appreciate you guys inviting me on. It's really nice of you guys to do so.
Scott, you're the man. You know, you're one of our favorite guys here. We really
Thank you.
appreciate you, man. And please, unless people have been living under a rock, they know who you are. They know all the stuff you do. But please plug all the great work that you do and anything that people can find coming up.
Yeah, I've actually pulled back a little bit. I don't do as much writing. I've just gotten busy. But we're on every Sunday night, East Coast, Monday morning. Jeff Erickson and I do the Rotowire Fantasy Baseball podcast. I also do the Gaming Golf podcast on Rotowire, talking there. And then football season, I do the DFS podcast. But right now, we're big in baseball season. So make sure you listen. Jeff and I try and have a lot of fun. We try and make sure that, we talk a lot of NFBC, but we try to make everything kind of for, 15 teamers, 12 teamers, and kind of talk about different levels. We talk a lot of free agency during the season. So hopefully that will help out. We talk a lot about setting lineups on Monday. So a lot of like actionable stuff, like Sunday night, Monday morning, to really try and get people going for the week. So hopefully people like it. Jeff and I have been friends for a long time. So hopefully that comes across as a casual, fun way to talk baseball, because I enjoy it. Hope everybody else does too.
You really do. I mean, you and Jeff are one of the most iconic duos in the industry. Everybody
That's nice.
loves listening to you guys. I know we all listen to you guys a bunch, and you guys are 2 of our favorite guests. So again, appreciate you, man. And we're looking forward to the next time. Got to get revenge on that game. I can't go down like that.
Anytime you guys want to play some trivia, I'm good to go.
That's right. Because why did I just not remember until now that you were on Stump the Schwab and you are a trivia guy?
Twice.
Yeah, like what?
Stump the Schwab, and then I was on Sports Geniuses on Fox Sports. Me hanging out with Lisa Guerrero and Matt Vescursion. It was a good time.
That's right.
I was going to plug that he was on Stump the Schwab if you didn't.
I totally left my mind until now. We're gonna have to.
It's a stressful experience, man. they dim those lights, and you feel like you just forgot everything you've ever known in your life. It's freaky. It was freaky.
We had the Schwab on the show. Can we have like a 10, 15 year reunion? Like we have him behind closed doors.
I fully retired from trivia. I'm too dumb and old now. It's terrible.
Oh man. Well, please make sure if you are not listening to Scott on the Rotowire podcast, you change that right now. You're missing out on some quality, great content. So please make sure you check that stuff out. Next week, we're going to be touching on starting pitchers part 3, closing out our starting pitcher review. Later this week, you're going to be able to hear our Free Agents Frenzy Part 2, which we're going to record earlier on. You guys will have that in your podcast feed in a couple days. But until then, everyone stay safe, happy drafting, and we're going to make like a bread truck, and we're going to haul these buns. Catch you guys in the next one.